Hey, what's up guys, LowIC here. Welcome back to a brand new video. So in today's video, I'm going to be talking about a Muslim channel that has been bothering me a bit recently. And no, it's not because they're wrecking the Christendom, converting a bunch of people for the side of Dawah. No, it's actually kind of the exact opposite. I think they're so awful of a channel that I just have to talk about them. Ain't converting any Christian sect now. And it's a little bit of a surprise that nobody has made an entire style of video like this that I'm about to do on this channel. People have talked about said channel before, but it's a little surprising to me that nobody has done an entire video really dedicated to reviewing this channel. But in today's video, I'm going to be taking on a daunting task. I will perform a classic channel review. So the channel we're going to be checking out today is a channel called Muslim by Choice, who is surprisingly popular, even though us Christians consider him to be the bottom of the barrel for Muslim apologetics. So in today's video, I'll be scrolling down Muslim by Choice's feed, picking out some videos to respond to and giving my reaction. So when you first enter the channel, you'll see why Muslim by Choice is considered the channel for Islamic apologetics. Because Muslim by Choice, he really likes to talk about Christian apologists. Actually, Christian apologists is a bit of a stretch. Muslim by Choice really likes to talk about Ravi Zacharias. Now, I'll be the first to admit that what Ravi did was completely disgusting and vile. But do we really need to have all this? Goodness gracious, at least the atheist only made one video. I couldn't even imagine being subbed to Muslim by Choice. It's just a never-ending wave of this Ravi controversy. Do you like these useless reminders? That's my question to these fans who keep eating this crap up. You know, guys, it may not be for money, it may not be for views, but it's pretty safe to say that Muslim by Choice is doing this to put Christianity in a bad light, which I'll never understand because Ravi's actions had nothing to do with his tactics used to spread his faith and trying to grow his belief. But it draws doxing Christians severely lying about his identity before debate, Mustafa Ahmed acting real weird though, Ali Dawah calling down prayers for disease for Christians, and Atun stabbings most certainly does it not? So please stop trying to milk every last drop out of this fiasco because it doesn't affect the truth of Christianity at all. Though my favorite example of what's most likely milking is when Muslim by Choice shares the opinion of a popular Christian or Muslim channel on this issue. You think if somebody was eating all these videos up and this enthralled in this controversy, wouldn't you think they wouldn't need a second upload of somebody's opinion who's popular in the community? Don't you think they would have already seen it? Do you know who I actually kind of feel bad for in all this? The fans. Hyped up for unbeatable proofs of Muhammad's prophethood and devastating attacks against the Bible, instead get pumped with videos that aren't arguments by definition. Or just shameless Shibarely uploads or cringy, unfound, emphasis type memes. I feel bad for him. Okay, so the first actual video we'll be checking out is a video titled, Shocking, Jay Smith Admits Zakir Naik is the Most Dangerous Muslim. Now, I'm not going to play the video, but in the video, basically, Jay Smith talks about how Zakir Naik is converting a bunch of people to Islam, which, yes, that's true, while also relying on the 99-1 rule and using the classic Zakir Naik cycle. Hey, debate Zakir Naik, you're too afraid. Alright, what time you want to set a debate? Where do you want it? Who's going to be the moderator? Oh no, Zakir Naik is above you. You're too inferior to debate Zakir Naik. But wait, you just said we have to debate Zakir Naik or we're cowards and we're scared. And it just continues, the cycle continues over and over again. Gotta love the Zakir Naik cycle. That's why you'll never see him debate an actual Christian, because he's too ahead of us, apparently, even though we haven't seen evidence of this. I love that. I love how that works. Yeah, it's not like Zakir Naik is wrecking Christian debaters left and right. All he's doing is relying on the 99-1 rule in a controlled system like many cults have done before him. So, it's also not like these Muslims are getting any good information about Christianity. It's always misrep or straw man. And that's all these Muslim Zakir Naik fans are getting, just complete misrepresentation of the Bible in order to maintain their faith in Islam. Now, I like to call this particular style video nugget mining. It's basically where the atheist, or in this case, Muslim YouTuber, will either completely misrepresent what the Christian said in the title of the video, so when you actually click on the video, you're like, wait, they didn't really say that, or they'll upload an allegedly damning statement by a Christian when us Christians are like, that's not really that big of a deal. So in conclusion, a really unproductive, pointless video to upload by Muslim by Choice. Didn't really prove anything. And next, please. Alright, next video we have Shocking, Sam Shimon finally admits that the doctrine of the Trinity is not found in the Bible? What? Okay. Yeah, there's no friggin' way. The guy who debates Muslims and talks to Muslims nearly every other night on live streams on why the doctrine of the Trinity is biblical. Yeah, he's finally going to admit that it's not found in the Bible. The guy who has hours, and I mean hours upon hours of content on why the doctrine of the Trinity is biblical on his channel and other channels. Yeah, he's going to admit that the doctrine of the Trinity is not found in the Bible. Yeah, there's no friggin' way, bruh. But I guess we're gonna have to check it out. Here we go. Let's check it out. Let's see if he finally admits that it's not biblical. Here we go.
The doctrine of the Trinity is the language we use to describe the Trinity. For instance, being and persons, right? When we talk about the being of God and the persons of God, one what, three whos. Or when we talk about Christ possessing two natures, hypostatic union, theanthropos, the God-man, two hypostases, meaning two natures in one person. All of that language, if you press me to show you that precise vocabulary, that precise exact language in the Bible, I can't do it. It's not there. Now, before I get into explaining and defining the terms that Christians came up with in articulating the doctrine of the Trinity,
Yeah, this was a complete leap in logic by my choice in order for the title to fit what Sam said. Sam is not saying that the doctrine of the Trinity isn't in the Bible. That's pretty obvious if you know Sam. He's saying that those exact words are not found in the Bible. Okay, that's all he's saying. So he still affirms the doctrine. He still says it's there. It's just that these particular words, these particular terms are not there in the Bible. For example, let me use what Sam used earlier, the terms the anthropos and God-man. Now, are these terms explicitly found in the Bible? No, but does that mean we should jump to the conclusion that these terms aren't biblical? No, any Trinitarian can clearly show you that the Bible teaches that Jesus is fully God and man. And this is the thing that I'm trying to get through to NBC here. These terms are not necessary for the doctrine. What I mean by that is, we could have these terms in the Bible, and we could not have these words explicitly in the Bible. It really doesn't matter because the Bible still lays out the doctrine. Do you understand what I'm saying? So, what I'm trying to push here is that these words really do not matter. They could be in the Bible, they cannot be in the Bible. I don't care.
Don't care, don't care, don't care, still don't care.
Because the doctrine is true either way. You're going to have to deal with the verses we bring up, not play this dumb game. Another thing that I would love to point out is the fact that you can easily flip this back on the Muslims. Ask any Muslim apologist right now to find where the word Tawheed is in the Quran. And no, not verses that imply or show Allah is purely monotheistic. No, you ask them to show you that specific word and nothing else. Or otherwise, according to Muslim by Choice's logic, I can conclude that Allah is actually multi-personal, falsifying Tawheed. Now, I know what the Muslims are going to reply with, but the entire Quran clearly proves and supports the doctrine of Tawheed. And I would actually agree with that premise, that Tawheed is actually Quranic, if they're able to show that the Quran lays the foundation for the doctrine and clearly matches what the doctrine teaches. So why do you guys demand that from us when you can't even prove it from your own Quran? That's my question. Not to mention, guys, and I'll say this once and I'll say it 1,000 more times, you better believe even if Jesus claimed directly to be God, even if we found the word Trinity directly in the Bible, the Muslims, if it contradicts Islam, they'd find some way to get out of it. I mean, think about it. Shabir is able to argue that Paul never claimed that Jesus was divine. Zakir Hussain can literally argue that the Gospels never say that Jesus died on the cross and rose from the dead 3 days later. You see what I'm saying? You see what I mean? So Muslims, please stop this silly challenge, considering the fact that even if we were able to find the word Trinity in the Bible, you still wouldn't be satisfied, like with everything else, because you'd still find some possible way to get out of it. So, don't demand things when you aren't going to apply them. Now, this next type of video really needs to stop being pushed by Jews, Muslims, and especially Hebrew root Christians, and that's a video where they go over all the negative health effects of eating pork products, as if that was ever the point of the law to begin with. It was never about intrinsically impure, it was always about spiritually uncleanly. Even Farid pointed this out flawlessly about the Islamic laws. It was never about a health revelation. It was always about being distinct and being spiritually clean. Not to mention, guys, most of their arguments aren't even that good anyway. I mean, really? Of course, when you don't cook pork, you're gonna get parasites. Same thing with the clean foods. And all this stuff about, oh man, they eat crap and they eat trash. Does that really affect the meat? I find that it doesn't. So please stop sharing these videos where they expose the health issues of eating pork. And at least, go for the unlearn the lies route. I think he did a better job because he tried to argue it from the New Testament that it still applies, and try to debunk some of our favorite verses to show that it no longer applies. I think he's still wrong, but I think he had the better idea. Instead of this, where these small channels, these truther channels especially, they share these videos that are completely pointless, considering the fact that that was never the point of the law to begin with. The next two videos by Muslim my choice are both about Nabil Qureshi. Man, still miss you, buddy. So the first video is titled David Wood. Nabil prayed to God to take his life away if he's preaching falsehood. I doubt that, but we'll check it out. Let's see. Maybe I'm wrong. Here we go.
All the kind of comments you get from Muslims and stuff, they're like, oh, he was cursed, he died because he wasn't worshiping the true God. But that's exactly, I'm sure, what they said when Jesus, got crucified. I mean, you can't even get more, intense than that. And when Paul and all the apostles were killed and stuff like that, I'm sure the unbelievers at that time were saying like, oh, look, see, there's evidence that he wasn't following the true God. And in reality, God would take those situations and turn them out for good for his purposes. That was in the background of my thinking when Nabil shared his diagnosis, and of course later when he died. But there are all kinds of things you could say in terms of why God might do something. But again, I think they're largely speculations. Hey, here's one thing that God might have done. Like there's one. I don't know if Nabil ever shared this in any of his videos. I don't remember. I don't remember if I've mentioned it, but Nabil. Don't remember the exact time frame. I would guess about 2 years before his cancer diagnosis. But we'll say sometime between 1 and 3 years before his cancer diagnosis, he prayed to God and said, God, if I'm ever going to do anything that undermine or dishonors or disgraces the work that I've done, my ministry, please take me out of this world before I do it. And so Nabil actually prayed that, if in the future he's going to do something that undermines the work he's done, God take him out beforehand. And this is something that when we were young and involved in it, we kind of thought that God is going to protect us from doing dumb things. And then you just see so many Christians along the way who end up doing dumb things and have huge ministries. Like the one that really started messing with our minds was Tom White from Voice of the Martyr. I think it's Tom White. Yeah, the head of Voice of the Martyrs. Amazing ministry. One of the most important ministries in the world. This is a guy who's been in prison for serving Jesus Christ and eventually committed suicide after there were accusations of a relationship with an underage girl or something like that. And I mean, think if anyone's going to be if God's going to protect anyone from doing something stupid, God could protect that guy or something like that. So we started thinking, like with me, I don't have to worry about involving a little girl or something like that. But under the right circumstances, I will just talk trash to anyone. It doesn't matter. I could be walking past a gang of bikers or something like that and mouth off to them just because I'm annoyed at the time or something like that. So and this is actually happened. There were guys offering me drugs one time. There were like 6 of them. And one of them said to the girl, hey, ask him if he wants any ecstasy. And I said, no, ask him if he wants his teeth. Right now, all I have to do is keep my mouth shut and walk away, right? I don't need to interact or mouth off to some drug dealers or mouth off to them and tell them, hey, if you want to keep your teeth, then shut up. So that could have gone very horribly. Those guys could have jumped right in my face. And at that point, I can either fight back and then it's on the, then everyone hears, oh, David beat up five drug dealers. Or, I don't fight back and I get beaten half to death or something like that. But that's what I mean, right? I could do all kinds of stupid things like that you could point to and say, this is your example as a Christian, this guy who does this idiotic nonsense. So that started started bothering me and Nabil after the Tom White situation, where we're actually thinking we're capable of doing all kinds of things. We're capable of being horribly arrogant or becoming ridiculously proud, or all kinds of things that we can do in this world that would be stupid. And Nabil eventually prayed, God, if I'm going to do something like that would undermine my books and my all the things I've done, just take me out. Now, is that why he died? I have no idea. I have no idea that had anything to do with it. Neither did Nabil, but that's something that, was in Nabil's mind, because we don't know the future. We don't know if Nabil is going to get a doctorate at Oxford and become the most proud, arrogant Christian around because he's Oxford dude now. We don't know, but that's what I'm using that as an example of, there are so many different factors involved in why someone might die that we are not aware of.
Once again, oh no, this makes me want to cry. This is abysmal at this point. Oh my gosh. Once again, much of my choice completely pisses on what the Christian clearly means. Much of my choice makes it out to seem that Nabil prayed that if he has a false belief or is spreading lies now, then take my life away. No, Nabil obviously means that if he were, keyword were, if he were to do something that would dishonor his work or his ministry in the future, then take me out of this world before that can happen. That's clearly what David meant. I don't know how anybody would be able to misunderstand what he means. It's so obvious. I don't know. I hate how much of my choice is completely misrepresenting David here, and he's trying to make it out to seem that Nabil prayed that if he has the false belief now or he's spreading lies currently, then Lord, take my life away because I'm a false teacher. I mean, David literally said, if in the future. And don't you think John would look a little concerned? Don't you think he would be like, hold up, David, what did you say? Then Nabil prayed that if he were teaching falsehood now, God would take him out of this world, and God apparently took him out of this world? No, he doesn't, because he's not spiritually blind, trying to force a meaning into something that it clearly doesn't mean, like most of my choice over here. I mean, I crap bricks thinking of how anybody could walk away from the video thinking along the lines of the title. Oh man, Christians won't be able to handle this telling prayer. Nabil, their hero, has been punished by Allah. Even he prayed that Allah should take him out of this world if he's preaching falsehood right now, if he has a wrong view right now. David Wood exposed. Nabil was punished by Allah for preaching falsehood. Well, the first Nabil Qureshi video by Muslim My Choice was complete misrepresentation, so hopefully the second one I mentioned earlier is better. This one's titled, David Wood Accidentally Exposes Nabil Qureshi's Fake Conversion Story. So, again, I doubt it, but here we go again. Hopefully it's better than the last one. Here we go.
And the third thing, the issue of the resurrection, did Jesus rise from the dead? Again, if Jesus didn't rise from the dead, the Christian faith is in vain. So how can I know whether Jesus rose from the dead? Well, as luck would have it, God brought to town a debate. It was a debate on whether Jesus rose from the dead. It was between a Christian named Michael Licona and a Muslim, Shabir Ali, both very respected in their fields. And as I was watching the debate, I was still a Muslim. As I was watching the debate, I concluded that the Christian case was far stronger.
I guess if you can explain, like, what was kind of one of the, or if you've even thought, or if there was one, what was one of the main kind of points that when you brought it up to Nabil, you can see that it kind of affected his faith a lot more? Or was there one, or was it all just kind of little small gradual ones?
Yeah, there were. Nabil was kind of complex in the sense that you could make what you thought was a brilliant argument, and sometimes he would just be like a stone wall. Nothing affected him, and other times you could be sitting there, and he would say, "Okay, I understand your point there." And one was we were talking about the idea that Jesus could die for someone else's sins, and Nabil was. I remember this was after the Shabir Ali versus Mike Licona debate. And we hung out with Gary Habermas and Mike Licona a little after the debate. And then Nabil and I were just sitting in his car talking afterwards. And we were talking about the idea that someone could pay for the sins of others. And he was saying that it's immoral and unjust.
Well, as luck would have it, God brought to town a debate. It was a debate on whether Jesus rose from the dead. It was between a Christian named Michael Licona and a Muslim, Shabir Ali, both very respected in their fields. And as I was watching the debate, I was still a Muslim. As I was watching the debate, I concluded that the Christian case was far stronger.
For one person to pay for the sins of others. And he would draw the comparison, which I've heard lots of other Muslims use. But, imagine you're a horrible murderer and God says, well, I'm going to punish that baby over there for what you've done. You wouldn't say, hey, that's fair. The sin's been punished. But notice that's not what any Christians are saying.
Once again, pretty easy to deal with this alleged inconsistency. Because if you guys actually know about Nabil Qureshi's story and the timeline from him converting to Christianity from Islam, then you'll know that the dominoes of his belief, if you want to call him that, were slowly knocked down by David Wood during their years of back and forth debate and discussions. What I mean by that is Nabil slowly started granting things about Christianity that David would convince him of, such as the Bible is not corrupted or Jesus did claim to be God. But even that's not the case. And you guys are not going to believe me. You guys are going to think, oh, Lil YC, you're just trying to apply your predetermined pattern in your response video to make a point. Muslim by choice, he doesn't actually do that this many times in his videos. But no, Muslim by choice, bruh, he did it again. He completely misrepresented what the Christian said on the title of the video. Now, what's actually being clearly said in the video is that Nabil found the Christian case for the resurrection to be more compelling after watching a debate, but he still found the idea of somebody dying for somebody else's sins very off-putting. He still didn't see it as true justice in comparison to Islam's teachings. Now, this next video tags along with this strange and needless trend for Islamic channels, and that's that they'll upload one video, usually their first video ever on their channel. I've seen that for smaller channels. They'll upload a video where it's just clips of David Wood talking about how he smashed his dad's head in with a hammer, or that he's a psychopath. Why do we upload this, Muslims? Seriously, why do we upload this? Every Christian fan of David Wood knows it. Pretty much everybody in your community knows it. It's not really an argument. It shouldn't affect how you see David's arguments. Why do we upload this? I don't know. It just seems like they're just trying to attack his character when it doesn't really affect any arguments at all. And don't even get me started on the uninformed comments. And I see this even on atheist videos replying to David Wood sometimes. And that's, they're afraid for his wife and kids that he's going to kill them in the middle of the night and chop them up and put them in a blender and then put them in a trash bag and throw them down the gosh dang river. No, he's obviously no longer like that. He's no longer mentally unstable, guys. He went to rehab, he went to jail. Please stop slandering him. Thank you. But in conclusion, my message to any Muslims who are either converted to Islam because of these type of videos, or at least maintains their faith because of these type of videos, my message is that that's really bad reasoning to maintain your faith. It really is. You shouldn't be influenced by these type of videos. At least, show some type of scholarly video or a video that actually tries to make an argument instead of these just smear campaigns against David Wood because, yeah, it shouldn't affect the truth of Christianity, I get the whole, oh man, this is the true colors of Christians. Well, even that's not the case because he wasn't even a Christian when he did that. So, man, these are really unproductive videos, and I'm not influenced to become a Muslim by these videos at all. So, not good, again. Alright guys, so the last video we're going to be checking out presents an argument that is, let's be honest, always pissed me off. It's the whole Christianity stole from pagan religions that I had to deal with back in the Zeitgeist era when I first became a Christian apologist. But we'll give it a fair chance. The video is titled, Did Christianity Copy from Pagan Religions? Nabil Qureshi Refuted. Let's give it a fair chance. Here we go.
Is the all-important doctrine known as the Trinity, is this found in the Bible or pagan religion? Let's find out.
Now hold up, before we hear his arguments, I'm already going to have to call out this guy. Randy does realize that he already in seconds broke a very sacred and beloved Unitarian rule, because according to his fellow Unitarians on YouTube and Twitter, calling somebody a heretic is very offensive and hurtful, and it's a term weaponized by Trinitarians to harass and bully Unitarians so that they are scared and forced to follow blindly into their false, unbiblical doctrine.
Hey, this is Pastor Randy.
Hey Randy, what's up? Hope you're doing well. Before I review the claims in your video, I noticed that you're a part of Yahweh Restoration Ministries, which sadly to say to you is an organization that I 100% despise, because they rely on baseless pseudo-history, feeding off the truther mindset, and shock value ads on YouTube. I also don't like how this organization genuinely and unironically believes that they have this secret truth that somehow went over the heads of every Christian before them. Oh man, everything in the church is pagan, the church has been completely corrupted, but we have the secret truth that nobody else knows, somehow, someway. This is exactly why we need to train more Christians to be ready to show why these ministries can only rely on duping unprepared Christians. If we do that, then the core building blocks on which these organizations are supported upon would crumble.
I'd like to welcome you to another Drive-By Teaching. It's a blessing to have you with me today. Where today I want to focus on a very important doctrine according to Christianity, and that is the Trinity. What if I told you that the Trinity is not based on Scripture? Matter of fact, the word Trinity does not even occur in Scripture. Nowhere is it to be found. Matter of fact, if you look at history, what we find is this: the Trinity, the concept of a Trinity, is not something we find in the New Testament.
Well, apparently it must have been because the early apostolic fathers, who were the followers of the apostles, believed in the Trinity. Check out William Albricht's channel for more.
This is something that developed over hundreds of years, by the way. Matter of fact, the Trinity within Christianity was not even developed until 300 years after the Messiah came and died for our sins. So that's a really important fact for you to remember, is that the theology of the Trinity was not developed until 300 years. But here's the reality of the Trinity, and that is, it is based on pagan ideas and concepts. And I want to share with you a few references today. The first one is from the Old Truths in a New Light. This was a publication published in 1876, and it's page 382 in this publication. And here's what it says. It goes on to explain. It says, "It is generally, although erroneously supposed, that the doctrine of the Trinity is a Christian origin. Nearly every nation of antiquity possessed a similar doctrine." So,
well, I searched through that entire book, and yes, I found that citation, but I didn't find any evidence to back up the citation within the book. The author, Alex, didn't really back up his claims. He didn't cite any experts. He didn't cite the religious texts themselves. He kind of just said it, and he kind of expects us to take his word for it. Man, you're going to write an entire book and do that? That's not gold.
And so we find here that it says almost every religion in the ancient world had a belief similar to what we find within Christianity involving the Trinity. And by the way, I'm reading these references from our booklet. It's the Identifying the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. A very, very good reference, a very, very good booklet if you're interested in the relationship between the Father and Son and how all that works within Scripture.
All right, so yeah, once again, I made sure to check out the book Randy cited. And once again, let's just say it was not gold. So here's Lil's under 1 minute book review. Here we go. The book ignores the personhood of the Holy Spirit found all throughout the Scriptures. The book removes John 14:28 out of its context. It did not exegete John 1:1, countering Daniel B. Wallace and other scholars. And it went into the whole confusing mess of saying that Jesus is the Father's eternal spoken word, which is not found in the Greek syntax of John 1:1.
I want to read another source. This is from The Two Babylons by Alexander Hislop.
Yo, it's the book IP exposed because real historians don't take its unfounded claims seriously. I'm glad Randy didn't bring up the part where it talks about Nimrod and Semiramis.
A really great read. And here's what he says. It says, "Will anyone after this say that the Roman Catholic Church must still be called Christian because it holds the doctrine of the Trinity? So is this something that we find only in Christianity?" Or what does he say? He says, "So did the pagan Babylonians, so did the Egyptians, so did the Hindus at this hour, in the very sense in which Rome does."
All right, so first off, we have Osiris, Isis, and Horus. So right off the bat, let's start off with something that every Egyptologist can agree with. These are clearly three distinct gods, not persons, constituting one god. And they are three of 2,000 deities. So it's not like, oh yeah, they're three gods, little YC, but you know, they're the only three gods and they work together. No, that's obviously not the case here. No, they're three gods over 2,000. Now, let me ask everybody a simple yes or no question. Does this look anything like the doctrine of the Trinity at all? No. No, it does not. No. So overall, for example, number one, they are not one god in three persons, and they're obviously not co-eternal since Osiris and Isis had Horus in a literal sense, unlike the father and son's relationship in the Godhead. Osiris also had another son, Anubis, so bye-bye John 3:16, with Nephthys, And since Isis and Nephthys were both his sister that he had a child with, that's pretty weird. We can't forget about his brother Set. So instead of God in 3 persons, now we have 6 persons, a hex entity. So why wasn't that included in the doctrine? There's too many things that aren't included if this was at all. The second example we have is the Babylonian trio of Anu, Enki, and Enlil. Now, once again, I found no evidence or scholar that would refer to these 3 as a term even close to the word person. No, once again, they're 3 distinct deities, and once again, they're not just the only 3 gods creating the world. In the Mesopotamian mythology, there are over 2,000 gods again. I mean, check that out. There's another group of 3 within the Pantheon. So many layers. Another core and vital concept found in the Trinity doctrine that this Babylonian trio contradicts is the idea of no enmity, no conflict in the Godhead. And yet, and I actually knew this all the way back in 2016 from atheists who said that the Noah's Ark story was copied from the Epic of Gilgamesh. And in the story, Enki, he warns Utnapishtim of a flood sent by the gods, including Enlil, because mankind was being too noisy, and after Enki warns him to build a boat and Utnapishtim is spared, Enki chastises Enlil for having created this flood. So, yeah, we would never find this in the Trinity. That would be considered blasphemous for one of the persons to disagree or have conflict with another person. No, they work in perfect union. Also, and more importantly for this example, I found no biblical passage that can connect to this triad, like what scholars use to show that Yahweh was allegedly a volcano god, or any literary similarities in the passages that show plurality in the Old Testament to these texts about these triads. Now, as for the last example, the Trimurti, I found through my research that it should actually be completely disqualified from this entire discussion of being the alleged blueprint for the Trinity, because I found through the best sources that it developed around 500 to 400 BC, but since I take Mosaic authorship, so should Muslims, by the way, that's way later than when the Torah and the Old Testament was written. So technically, since I think we can prove that the Trinity is in the Old Testament, you're going to have to deal with the verses we bring up, technically, the Trinity would be older. So unless you want to take on the daunting task of debunking all of our fantastic proof texts for the Trinity in the Old Testament, or you want to believe in a mass corruption of the Old Testament later, which there is no evidence of, you're going to have to drop this example, because technically it shouldn't even be in the conversation, because it's later. I also found through scholarly research that Hinduism didn't have any influence on early Judaism, like the development of their God as a whole. Even coming from liberal scholars, I found this. If Judaism's God was influenced, which Muslims shouldn't grant, by the way, I'm talking about the God, Yahweh, not later corruption. I'm talking about the origins of Judaism. Muslims shouldn't grant this. If it was influenced, it would have been influenced by surrounding cultures like the Canaanites or other nations. So, in conclusion, guys, I hate this channel. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I hate this channel. It's awful. It's an awful channel. I've shown why it's awful, because Muslim by choice, all it does is jump to conclusions to the point where he just zones out, and he can never back up a claim to save his life. Also, P.S., and I'm never going to say this again, so think of this as a bit of an exclusive for what I'm about to say, but I can guarantee you, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that I will not get an actual response video from Muslim by choice to my video. I'm more likely to get a response from a dead ancient atheist channel responding to one of my videos on Muslim by choice here. And that's even if he sees my video. You guys want to take a guess at what Muslim by choice's response to me would look like? Here, let's go with the title of Unitarian Christian Shows Trinity is Pagan, Refuting Lil YZ, which glosses over many of my arguments, doesn't have any citations or proper exegete, and completely misrepresents all my arguments. Muslim by choice, we demand an actual response video to Sam, William, or Anthony, not you regurgitating a Zakir Naik or Shabir Ali video that you failed to fact check. You gotta have that crap thorough.